Hello, welcome back. The most boring topic I could think of. I had to drive a couple of people to the city today for an appointment, and it hit me how much I rely on cruise control. So yeah, I'm going to talk about cruise control because I am a what you would call a heavy-footed driver, lead foot driver. Yeah, the only way, like, I don't know, you do the speed limit, and you're following people, and you obey all the rules. It bores the skull off of me. So I don't know. I just learned. I love driving. I love spirited driving. I really do. I learned that when I first started driving. I didn't care about cars at all. I just loved driving. I loved how the car gets you going, do the corners, and car does fun things, makes you smile, keeps me awake. Um, Very early on, any sort of street where there was no traffic on, I would. I was one of those idiots. School zones too. I remember this one time I was speeding through a school zone like I don't know, I must have been doing 60 or 80 or something, and it was in the summertime, windows were rolled down, and some woman yelled, you know, it's a school zone, and that was the first time I was checked on it. And then after that, I had second thoughts about it. Now I grew up buying cheap cars, right? You know, they all there was no cruise control and things like that in them. So I never really never it never occurred to me. Then I bought a car that had cruise control in it. And I started using it in places like that where I needed to do a sane speed, and a way for me to take my foot off the pedal was to hit the cruise control. If it's a 60 zone, 60. And we'll drive through at 60 with cruise control. Or if I knew there was going to be cops around, every city has, this one's patrolled by cops or whatever, right? So maybe, oh, this is the freeway. This is the part of the freeway where the cops usually are. So I would just hit cruise control, hit 80, and do cruise control. But what I found, I thought cruise control was standard. I thought, like how a speedometer works, like how a gas pedal works, like how a steering wheel works. I thought cruise control, everybody had the same thing going on. And then I found out it's not true because I do use it in school zones. I do. So I found out that all cars have a different lowest speed, and some cars have a top speed actually, and especially now with the electronic cars. Um, I had a what was that thing called? The Chevy, the half truck thing. Oh, geez, I can't remember. Anyway, so I noticed that the Japanese and European cars will set of my Honda's always the lowest limit that they would engage cruise control was at 30 kilometers an hour, which by chance happens to be the school zone speed limits. And I was like, right on. Thank you, Honda. Thank you, Europe. I actually don't know about Toyotas, but my Honda did. And every European car I've driven, they all did it at 30. The Jag did it. BMW did it. Never had a Volkswagen with cruise control. But yeah, now my Hornet, and I don't know why, but it does it at 32 kilometers an hour, which I thought was why 32. But it also doesn't use cruise. The cruise doesn't work. Well, you can't engage the cruise on my Hornet. Well, you can engage it. I think it's 155 or 156. It'll engage. But once you're over that, it won't engage it. But if you have cruise control on, if you have the cruise control on and you're at those speeds, you can it'll go all the way up to 164, I think. It's something like that, and then it doesn't go any higher. I, El Camino, yeah. This brings me to the El Camino. Now I had the El Camino, the big V8 American thing. It had a little push button on the end of the lane changing stock thing. You just pressed it, and it kept the car going. But that car would do ridiculous speeds, of course, top end speeds. And I would drive it to and from on the highway to and from work at the time. And that thing, that cruise control worked. It was analog, of course, back in the day. And so it would just stay on. It didn't matter how fast you went. You- yeah, you could be doing ridiculous speeds in it, and the cruise would engage, and you could still speed up, and it didn't matter what. My parents drove it to the yeah, on the Alaska highway, and yeah. But nowadays, yeah, like the electronics, I don't know, govern it. Uh, do you use speed like some people only use some people? The other thing, the other reason I'm bringing this up is because I was following a guy in a truck, and I'm using cruise control in the van here with the radar and everything. It does make a smooth ride. It's come a long way. Cruise control has come a long way. Our 2018 Camry still had a herky jerky cruise control, and we drove to and from Edmonton in it, and I was using it because I rely on cruise control. I do for everyday sane people driving. I'm not going to say I'm master and commander of a 2 hour drive where I got to stay one speed. Like I'm sorry, like I'd much rather have somebody else do it or have the car do it, right? But the Camry, you could feel, and I remember that with my Hondas too, where if you slow down, you could feel it slow down. If you sped up, you could feel it speed up, and it wouldn't do smooth transitions, right? And I noticed on my on the F-150 at work and on my Hornet, like it's very smooth. You can't tell that it's on cruise control. It's like you're driving with a smooth driver. There is no herky jerkiness, and when it slows down or speeds up or anything, there's a nice buffer in between, transitioning, very smooth transitions. Because when I ride with my mom, she's she's a driver. She's a professional driver. She was a trainer, and she notices all that stuff. And when she's riding, she likes the ride to be, smooth sort of thing, right? Otherwise, she does get sick if it's really weird. But I remember we were driving to, back and forth between the island and Edmonton there, and I was using cruise control for when I was driving, and she had to comment on it. Don't use the cruise control. It was making her sick because it was it was herky jerky, right? Then I got my Hornet. We're driving to the city in the Hornet, and I was using the self-driving thing all, and her big deal was, don't you shouldn't have to use it. Don't use the cruise control. It makes the ride terrible, right? And it did. The old school cruise controls did. I mean, if you wanted it set to a speed, it would say to the speed. As soon as you decelled or excelled, you could feel the movements and things like that. It was very noticeable. But on my car, she didn't even know I was using it. Didn't even know I was using it, which is saying something, right? That's how smooth they are. How do you use cruise control, right? Or do you use it at all? Like I know some people they only use it when they're on the highway. But me, like I use it for city driving, I use it for highway driving, I use it for slow speeds. I use it anytime that I have to stay at a constant speed for a length of time I use cruise control for all of those moments. Like I don't mind the car taking over. I really don't. I won't have it on if I'm doing spirited driving, of course, right? Actively involved in the driving. But the mind numbing stuff, it actually helped me from getting speeding tickets. That's really what solidified it for me. When I started using cruise control, I stopped getting speeding tickets. Because I noticed when I was a young guy and I had, freedom to do whatever I wanted, freedom in a car, and I did not care about speeding tickets. I didn't care about accidents. I didn't care about other people on the road, other than how do I get through them as fast as I can, or like on a race course or something, right? Delusional teenager. But I noticed when I was driving that I was accelerating all the way until I came, the light was changing, or I had to come to a stop or a stop sign or something, or there was another car, and then it was all acceleration, and then it was all braking. There was no get up to a speed, cruise at a speed, and then slow down sort of thing. I was never doing that. Driving with me must have been horrible, like sickening. I don't know how my girlfriend could stand it, because she was always in the car. I was always driving, and I was always in some sort of sporty car, and I was always driving like a nutcase. Right? It was one of those people, the, the hooligan. I don't know how she didn't throw up. Seriously. It's not like I drive with people like that, and I'm like, oh man, I can't take this. I can't take this. I get car sick, you know. But yeah, that's what solidified it for me, was not stop. I stopped getting speeding tickets from using it. Stopped getting pulled over by cops for driving like a lunatic, right? And that's what cruise control did for me. And I can't believe I'm having this kind of talk about cruise control. uh, you know, how do you use it? Do you use it like me, or do you use it just for or do you not use it? Like, there was a truck in front of me today, and we were on the highway, and it was going between 110 and 95, and I could just picture it in my mind. It's some old fart in there, or some old woman in there, or whatever, and then I don't use cruise control. Uh, I like to be in control of my vehicle. You know, uh, stubborn. Yeah, I don't like that newfangled technology, or don't know how to use it. Right? But that's what it was the whole drive. I had mine on cruise, and the radar's on, and I'm trying to follow this person. I couldn't wait to get past them, or for them to turn off, or whatever, because we would be. I got behind him. We were doing 110, and then he slowed all the way down to 95, and then he would weave a little bit and be distracted, or look at something. Like I could, not that he's drunk or distracted or texting on a phone or something like that. I just see some old farmer just doing his thing. He's driven this road a million times in his life, and it didn't really matter. But the guy wouldn't put on cruise control, and the whole way to speed up to 110 and be there for a few minutes, and then he'd slow all the way back down to 95 because he's, I don't know, talking with the passenger, or looking at the hay bales on the side of the road, or I don't know, and then speed up to 110, and then slow down to 95 and speed up to 110, and the radar's trying to did a really good job of buffering that you know that transition drive, right? I was like, oh my god, why don't people use cruise control? Like, really? Like, I look at myself, and I'm like, I'm a distracted driver without a phone. And I get that genetically. I watch my dad, and he turns his head, and the whole steering wheel goes with him. And his dad did that. And I'm like, I got that gene. Right? I have to stay focused. And if I'm talking with somebody, yeah, it's all gone. Like, yeah, I'll take my foot off the pedal. I'll slow down. I know I paid attention to this one time of me driving. 'Cause I had highway drives out to my parents' house out in they had an acreage outside the city, and I would drive it every weekend, and I would just take notice of how I'm driving. Because if I'm complaining about some other driver, right? Okay, am I doing that? Where am I doing that? Because if I don't like it and other people don't like it, then before I'm gonna start yelling and road raging, right? Like I'm fix my stuff first, right? And I noticed that I did that, and I'm like, okay, then I should not be in control of the throttle on the highway, right? I'll give the car the power and let it take let it take me where I need to get to go. And when I do need to have power or control back of the car, I'll take it back, right? Part of me says, "Oh, don't let the car take over." You're out of control of the vehicle and you can't trust technology. But the other hand is like, let's be practical about this. If it's saving me from getting tickets and fists waving at me, so I've had that, of course. I'm a nutcase driver back in the day, right? I've had fists. I've had people come up and hit my car and road rage, and I was all at fault for it, of course, right? I was a loony bin, but yeah. Say what you think in the comments about the cruise control. If you care about cruise control, some people don't even care about cruise control. Has it made your life better? Which ones were the good ones? Which ones were the bad ones? That's all this channel is for, right? We're picking this topic and we're going to chat about it. Really, that's what it is. Share your quirky car knowledge, right? It's not just Doug DeMuro and the Top Gear guys and the Jeremy Clarkson. You know, it's not just them. All of us are car people, and this is a weirdo stuff that we talk about. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one.